Sectadi Catholic TV, divinely inspired, fully Catholic.
Hello viewers, welcome to Sectadi Catholic TV. Today on the Family and Youth Corner, we are here to discuss marriage and the Catholic Church. And to do that with me here is one of our very own, and I would like for him to introduce himself. Monsignor, please.
Oh, I'm Monsieur Francis Abua Kwanza, with the Catholic Diocese of Sekedi Taprade. At the moment, as the diocesan see is vacant, Most Reverend John Bonaventure Kofi is the apostolic administrator, and he has appointed me to be his delegate here in the diocese, and therefore I am, by that fact, the delegate of the apostolic administrator in the diocese, taking care of stuff in the diocese.
Okay. Welcome once again.
Thank you.
Our topic today is about marriage and the Catholic Church. And as has been the case, we know that marriage is a union between two consenting adults, that is ideally. However, here in Ghana, we know that you cannot get married if you don't have the consent of your families as well. It is not just the two of you. We regard it as a union of two families. In that light, what does the Catholic Church say about marriage?
Good question. But I disagree with your intro. That marriage is between two consenting adults. In the Catholic Church, when we talk about marriage, it's about consenting adults, of course, but our attention is fixed on the relationship between a man and a woman. You know, in the world that we live in, all kinds of permutations come together. Anybody goes by the description marriage. But so it's good for our purpose as we go on with this discussion that we have a particular type of union in mind. That is the union between a man and a woman. You know. And in the Catholic concept, it is when this man and woman would come together for a partnership, you know, a partnership which will inure to the good of the parties themselves, you know, an act of love that they share mutually, and which, of course, if it is properly and duly expressed, will lead to the procreation of life. Now, it can be said to be the fruit of that particular marriage, you know. But it needs to be emphasized that there's this marriage bond before you talk about all these other consequences of fruitfulness and all that. So there could be a situation where a couple come together in marriage, but unfortunately the aspect of fruitfulness is lost on them. That does not negate the fact of their marriage. And for us in Ghana, we need to take this more and more seriously, because we tend to equate fruitfulness to be what should cement, what should stand for marriage. And therefore, in some cases, when a couple come together in marriage and there's no issue, then pressure is brought to bear on the couple to, you know, to separate or to divorce or that kind of thing. So I need to make those introductory remarks. Then going on from there, you're talking about marriage, you know, in the Catholic Church and the marriage in the traditional sense.
Yes. I know that the Catholic Church believes in tradition, and we have respect for that. And so, as a Catholic, before you take your marriage to the altar or before you walk down the aisle, you are expected to have fulfilled the traditional requirements before you go to the altar to have your marriage blessed. In that instance, is there any difference? Because, for instance, if you look at the West, I don't know if they have any traditional way of getting married before they walk to the altar to have their marriage blessed. So, is there a difference between saying that one couple saying that I want to have just the traditional marriage because I don't have the resources to go to the altar, or is it mandatory that you can go ahead and probably just do the ordinance marriage, or you necessarily have to do the two, that is, do the traditional one and then go to the altar as well?
I think our understanding of marriage, because of where we're coming from, in the sense of our own traditional backgrounds and the faith experience that we have embraced, as well as the, what do you call it, the legal regime in which we live, we tend to have some kind of confusion growing, and each regime seems to be saying that mine is the be and be all of everything. If you took a traditional person, you know, they go knock the kobuabu, they present the drinks, all those. When all those customary, you know, rights and all those are performed, bingo, it's marriage, and that is such. Whether you are a Christian or whether you are a non-Christian, whether you are a Muslim, whatever, the traditional marriage stands on its own.
Okay.
Yeah. For us in the Catholic Church, as part of our preparatory, you know, rites or programs, we don't want us to live in two separate worlds: the world of culture, the traditional culture, and the world of faith. So our practice is simply this, that during the preparation, whoever is preparing the couple must ensure that the traditional marriage, you know, demands have also been fulfilled. So if you took any pre-nuptial inquiry, you know, booklet or form, you will see that it's spelled out whether there's an inquiry made to find out whether maybe those traditional aspects have been conformed with, you know, and for a good reason, because we don't want a situation where maybe a couple might just come to church, do their own thing, and go back, and then they are rejected by the family for whatever reason. You know, in those days, even in Europe, they talked about secret marriage, elopement, and all those kind of things. The customary marriage gives us the, you know, the background belief and, you know, conviction that this is a relationship which is not just on the side or just two people meeting to do their own thing, but it has the backing of the two families, you know, that they're coming from. And you know, when you marry, I suppose you're going to marry soon. When people marry, there are two families coming together, you know, whether we like it or not, whether they like you or they don't, or some members of the family like you. Marriage brings two families together for all kinds of reasons, too many for us to start enumerating. You know, so the practice of accepting traditional marriage, of taking it into account when preparing couples for marriage, cannot be underplayed, or cannot be underplayed. The church is realistic in this, but then we have to ensure that because the church gives so much, you know, so much, what do you call it, merit to traditional marriage, it doesn't mean that you can just marry traditionally and that is the end story. Because for us Catholics, we believe that God is using marriage as a natural, natural right, natural situation, natural way of procreation, whatever. God is using that, and in Christ, as Catholics, we see that that has been uplifted to a new dignity, and that dignity is the sacrament of marriage, So that's why it is never enough for a Catholic couple just to settle in with the fact that, oh, we have married traditionally, and everybody recognizes us in society, and therefore it's okay. There's no need to go in for the sacrament of marriage, because indeed the sacrament of marriage puts marriage on a pedestal, and you want to be on the pedestal. You don't want to be, on the veranda function or under the, you are still some kind of schoolboy, schoolgirl thing, making in the background, But you want to be accepted in your church as such. You have come of age. And the life of the church, which is the life of grace, experience in marriage in different forms, in the priesthood, in religious life and all that, you too have come on board. And that is why you are proud and you are happy and you are witnessing to the faith that you express, to go to the altar with your partner, with your spouse, and pronounce those sacred vows, and then make the effort to live those vows. And that is what for us Catholics is the thing. The traditional marriage doesn't take away from the beauty and the goals of Catholic marriage. Neither does the Catholic, the sacramental marriage also deny you of your natural, origin of whatever culture that you come from. It all, it all comes together in a good blended form.
Monsignor, does this rule apply to all Catholics the world over? For instance, like you just mentioned, in Ghana, you would have to have the traditional marriage for the church to recognize that you fulfill the customary rites, and then they proceed to bless your marriage for you. Does this apply to other parts of the world, say Asia, say Europe, say the Americas? Does it apply?
You see, culture is varied, and as I said, marriage is a natural right. It's and therefore, each tradition, each society, and all that has some, some ingredients that they hold dear. Marriage maybe as celebrated in India or in China or whatever may not be the same. I'm not familiar with whatever, but whatever it is, there is that dimension that whatever the natural, form of marriage is, when it comes into a church, there is, the aspect of faith and the aspect of, living the reality as a person of faith, and that's expressed in marriage, being a sacrament. Okay. In America, for example, they have their own traditions as well. Yeah. Perhaps they will come to Africa and they say, hey, what are they doing? Unless it's explained to them, they might find it sometimes a little weird. But when they begin to understand, then they can't appreciate it more. Our marriage form of marriage, addresses the communal aspects of societal living. Yes, in America, it puts a lot more emphasis, in Europe and America, it puts a lot more emphasis on the couple themselves who are coming together. Okay. I don't think, and fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you feel or how you think, in our society today, people are pushing away from the traditional thing and begin to place more emphasis on the man and the woman, the two. For good or for worse, maybe we'll live to see. Okay. Yeah, but suffice it to say that in Europe and America, the individualism kind of overpowers the communal aspects of the marriage as we in this society tend to look at marriage, you know. But the rights as they go in are completely different, you know. Still aspect of a communal life going on though. Because I remember, you know, when people are celebrating marriage in the evening or so, the family, in the sense of the girl's family and the boy's family, will come together and they'll go into a restaurant or something, or you know, have a good meal, and then the evening before they'll exchange presents and share, they open all that kind of thing, you know. Well, if you're an outsider, and you should have assumption, you know, it all looks so funny, and maybe it all looks so like serial, you know. But we do a more elaborate thing, and it takes, our marriage kind of takes a whole, you know, traditionally, it's a process. Okay. Now, maybe in an attempt to bridge and blend things, sometimes if you're preparing a couple, they say, oh, come maybe early in the morning for the traditional marriage, and then you go and they do all the traditional rites before they proceed to church, you know, for the sacramental celebration. Things are changing. I mean, there's all kinds of invitations going on, how to, you know.
Monsignor, does the church have a required age at which they consider an individual qualified for marriage? Because we know of instances where girls are betrothed to older men, or girls are married off to other men without their consent. Does the church have a required age at which you are deemed qualified for marriage?
Age in the church is kind of tricky too. Okay. It's tricky in the sense that when you talk about, let's say, someone in the majority, that is come of age, you're talking about somebody who is 18. Okay. You understand? Okay. So anything below 18 then makes you a minor, you know. But at the same time, when it comes to maybe the ability to access certain goods, rights in the church, it again depends on the age. Somebody who has just been baptized, who's been born, regardless of the age, can be baptized in the Catholic Church. In some churches, it's not like that. Okay. You know, but for us, age doesn't play any significant role in that, because baptism is a primary thing. However, to receive Holy Communion, there's also another consideration of age. One must be 7 years of age, you know, before one can access the First Communion. Okay. And that even depends on the reassurance or the agreement that the bishop, and for that matter, the conference of bishops, you know, have on that as to when a person can receive First Communion. The same thing applies to when a person can receive the sacrament of confirmation. But to address your question specifically, even though the age of majority is 18 for all, when it comes to marriage, it says that, I think it's on 1083, it says that for the man, there should be age 16, and for the woman 14. So that is, you know, and again, that is the rule out there. But the fact of the matter is that again, the law makes provision that the conference, the bishops' conference, addressing the situation of the particular, can, you know, address that age business, you know. Okay. Yeah, so that's what it is.
Viewers, if you just joined us, we are having a conversation with Monsignor Abo Akwansa, who is the Vicar General of the Second Takoradi Catholic Diocese. Continue to subscribe to our channel, which is Sektadi Catholic TV, press the bell button, and whenever we upload a new video, you can always watch it without waiting to be notified by someone else. Monsignor, we have instances where older couples who have been married for say 10, 15 years decide that they want to come to the altar. And we have instances where people who have never been married before decide to come to the altar. In our local settings, when you hear people talk about it, they are like, for the older couple, oh, what about one blessing? For the younger couple, we say solemnization of holy matrimony. Is it one and the same thing, or they are two different things?
Well, the goal is the same, that they want to sacramentalize their marriage. Not what I mean by this bombast. It just means that they want to have the relationship, as the law says, raised to the level of a sacrament. In the case of the previous couple, they have been married perhaps traditionally for some time, and they have not. They are therefore not married according to the required form of marriage, as we say in canon law. Their marriage doesn't conform to the form of marriage. Okay. Though it needs to be emphasized that even in law, the big dictum, the big thing in law, I think backed by canon 1060 or so, says that consent makes the marriage, and the consent of two baptized people necessarily will lead the marriage into a sacrament. But in the church, in the Catholic Church, that consent must be expressed in a particular way. It must be expressed before the priest and at least two witnesses. You understand? So we can't just take it for granted that because consent makes marriage, and I am baptized, you are baptized, so we can come together and by ourselves decide that is good enough as marriage. Well, that doesn't add up. That consent must be expressed in a particular way. Okay. And that is what people would sometimes call that when they're going to express it in that particular way, before a priest and the witnesses, they will describe it as blessing. You understand? Okay. In the case of a young couple who have never lived as husband and wife, they, of course, sometimes will say, we are going to, marry in church, solemnize or have a wedding and all those kind of fine things that we, wear the veil and that, and then all the bridesmen and bridesmaids and what do you call it, they come in their jackets and suits, and in these days you have the special dance going on, and pam pam palam, pam pam palam, all that kind of thing, and everybody is there so happy. Oh, I know the pie was good, So that kind of thing, So the blessing and what you term the solemnization, the end goal is all the same, to make sure that the marriage, the relationship, is indeed before the church and before before the believing community. This couple, have satisfied the demands of marriage, or they have, better still, profess their love in a legitimate way.
Okay. Monsignor, is there a time frame for counseling, or it's different as per each diocese or as per each country, and does it apply for both older couples and younger couples?
A lot, I think, depends on circumstances. Circumstances of how deep the people are in their faith, circumstances of maybe how well the couple know each other, and it is just to ensure that whoever is preparing the couple for marriage, at least depend on whatever dispensation that you find yourself in. In some dioceses, it's 3 months. In some others, it's 6 months. And in some still other dioceses, it could be even longer. But whatever it is, there must be sufficient time, not just to meet the priest and then answer the questions on the prenuptial forms and think that bingo, we are done. There's a lot that goes into marriage. Even the unsuspecting area, like finances. How do you spend money? What are your values when it comes to maybe material goods? If it's love, yes, love. But how well do you know yourself, your tolerance? So the emotional, psychological kind of things. All these, are areas that you need to attend to. Not to mention, as a Catholic, what is it that you are getting into? What is marriage? What is the marriage as a sacrament? What do we understand by all that? Are we prepared to, die for each other like that Christ died for the church? And that's exactly what the married people are doing on that altar. Sometimes I tremble to see that, hey, I love you, I'll do this and that, till death do us part. And the other one responds the same, till death do us part. What you are saying is that, look, I'm doing all this because I've seen a greater love. And our love is being caught up in that thing. And that's why I'm able to do that until death do us part. But it's not an easy promise to make. Maybe that's why many people shudder and they are not able to come up. But if they do, if they cross that line and they do, there's a lot that they, and all this needs preparation. It's not something that you kind of, you go to a disco one night, you meet this lovely girl, or you meet this lovely young man. The way he boogies, it just throws you out of, and then when you come, he says, hey, you what? And then you come and see you, my jump, and like, no, it's not just the sum of that. That's part it. But you need to deepen exactly that, initial spark and see how, the two people are coming together. Sometimes it's just even the educational background, on all kinds of things. So, of course, if you evaluate too much, sometimes you won't get anything. But at least the initial homework must be done. And that is what we should do for all these areas when you are preparing, signing the forms and all that. Maybe go to somebody who can evaluate you, answer a number of questions, and see how the two of you, can face each other. In Europe and America, we have all this some kind of focus thing, that you go to, and the two of you are answering questions or all that, and then in the end, someone who is doing that will evaluate the whole thing and then see whether you are compatible, or if you are not compatible and you still love each other, you have to find out, okay, this is my shortfall, this is her shortfall. So how do we address it, and how do we make sure that we have a task to perform and a hurdle to jump, so that we can now, go into the future knowing each other's, positives and negatives.
Monsignor, when you were answering this very last question, you talked about the vows that we make on the altar. Does the church give you, to be couples, an avenue to say that, okay, we know there are standard vows in the church. Can we improvise and write our own, and then maybe say it in addition to what the church has provided to be said on the altar? Does the church make provision for that, or it's standard? What is there is what is to be said?
What is there is the standard thing. But I like the way you put it. Can we do something additional to what they? No. I hope it is not like something to substitute for what is being given as a standard.
Not
very
necessarily
often,
to substitute.
very often, the impression or what I have seen is that when people reject the church formula, the standard one, then they think that we want to do our own. So they say, oh, for example, I'll make sure that what do you like? You like to go fishing. I'll buy a fishing rod for you every year, the rest of my life. Or you every birthday, you like kinky at the Dokun Putori, and so I'll make sure that every birthday of yours I do Dokun Putori, the best one. Make a wood tree, no lie, everything, But so I think it is the dying and the rising aspect of marriage, of what you call it, the Pascal mystery. Permit me to get a little theological here.
That's
the
fine.
Pascal mystery. That is what you are vowed, and that's why you can say, I'll love you, I'll do this, till death do us part, and when you are, you say, Yarabamu, and Kwamo, in Hiamo, in poverty, in wealth, in sickness and in health, whatever order. Those are the standard thing. But it kind of, it draws your whole personhood, and the whole mentality into the fact that there's going to be a big struggle out there, and you are vowing that whatever the case, you are going to stand by your man, or your man is going to stand by my woman, and together we forge ahead. So that is the. So if you want to, in addition to what the church has provided, if you want to do something, some other thing, but don't let it be so fanciful. Let it be serious and conform to it. And then make sure that you can talk this over with the pastor or the priest who is marrying you, and not spring a surprise at the last moment and say they that it. So that, we all know that it is not something kind of casual that we are living out there.
Martina, to my next question. If a would-be couple goes through counseling, does it necessarily mean that it has to end in marriage? Case in point, I know someone who went through 6 months counseling. After counseling, she was like, well, after counseling, I have realized that I can't live with this person for the rest of my life, and walked away from the relationship. Does going through counseling necessarily mean that you have to get married at all costs to this person that you went through counseling with?
But that's exactly the reason why you go counseling. To get to know each other more. To assess your positives and your negatives, to assess your strengths and your weaknesses. Now, if the counselor, whoever it is, God bless their soul or heart or something, if they are able to talk to you in such a way that the two of you can say that, oh, as for this, thank God I've come to realize this. I don't think you are the person for me. I mean, you still have to pray over it and all that. It shouldn't be so, casual about it. But with all seriousness, the counseling should help you to get to know things better. And if the conclusion at the end of the day is that I want to give some time to give a thought to this, or I don't think maybe you are the person for me. Hello, say thank be to God for for noticing this as teaching time. 6-9, okay, rather than go into it because but don't wait till in any way when they have prepared everything, when the crown has been set, when the cake is already, when the gown is sewn, when the parent got his 3-pin suit and all that, well, when everything is done, they say, "Oh, I'm sorry." Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You know, but the counseling is supposed to elevate, to make you come to grip with yourselves. You know. So,
Monsignor, as you mentioned, one shouldn't wait till preparations have been made for the marriage ceremony before saying that, okay, I went through counseling and I don't think I can be with this person. When is it appropriate to go for premarital counseling? Is it when you have met the person and there's a spark and you've started dating, or when you've met each other's families? What's the ideal time to go through premarital counseling?
You see, when we take marriage as a journey, you know, it's like when you are going to set out on a journey, you begin preparations.
Okay.
I'm going to spend 3 months here in Europe. Where I'm going, winter will be there, you know, and I'll stay a little bit into the spring. So you take care of the clothing, this and that, all the preparations that you need to and you know, you do so accordingly, you know. So, and depending on whom you have met, seriously, depending on whom you have met, maybe you grew up with Kojo, you know, and so you know each other from, you know, from your youthful days, you know. It's not that you don't know. So in that case, perhaps it might not take too long a time, you know. You've been dating Kojo. Unfortunately for us, in our part of the world, dating and courting are often confused. You know, once you date a girl or you date a boy, the thing is that, oh, it must lead into, say, courtship, you know, or midenisato, so, you know, that kind of thing. And so, you know, sometimes if you don't restrain yourself in the spirit and all that, it might lead to absurd or abnormal consequences, you know. So all these needs to be factored in. But if, you know, I think with the rule of the thumb, the less you know a person, the longer you should spend the time, you know, to get to know each other before marriage. But if you have known somebody all along and all that, the person must be a magician to change over first off, or to hide from you so much that suddenly on the day of your marriage, you spring surprise on you. Is that a boy I really knew? You know, that kind of thing. So I don't think there's a rule of thumb out there, but you know, it's not everything that is dictated by rule. So you have to factor into that, factor that in as well.
Monsignor, is there an avenue for post-marital counseling?
Very, very important. You know, if you're asking us avenue as what we do as church, unfortunately, I think it's one of the weaknesses of our pastoral practice. You know, very often we are very happy people coming together to marry, and the priest will do everything to prepare them and what kind of that. But then the moment people get married, then it's like it's over. Then it's all your own. But I think that's also very, very important, especially in the light of what happens in our society this day and age. You know, perhaps we need to come to, young couples have to come together more often to share the experience of marriage life, to share, you know, maybe their faith experience, particularly in that regard, you know, to strengthen each other in all that. You know, in other words, it is not just enough to pronounce the vows, the wedding, and that's over. I always say when I'm preaching to young couples, wedding is not a marriage. Wedding is just a point that you are saying, well, hey, here we are. But then the real work begins, you know. And as you go on, because before you get married, I say you are a couple. Then if God blesses you very soon, your stomach is extended, you know, babies come in. And when they do, you have to change your culture again. For example, you can't go out every weekend and boogaloo with your spouse like you used to. You know, and you can't. There are a lot of things that you used to do. You know, maybe you used to meet your mates and all that. And now, so all these things they take different, you know, kind of twists and turns, and they take different, you know, responsibility. They take something different out of you, you know, and all that, you know, also can affect the quality of your marriage. It can elevate it. It can also be challenges that let you down, you know. You are married to this young man. The baby comes in, 12 o'clock midnight. He is snoring away. When you say, German, is not your German danger, don't you have to go to work tomorrow? And then there you are alone, you are sobbing and all that. And then you know, the devil comes in and says, you say, you see, then all that begins to tear you apart. So there are challenges, you know, which maybe perhaps should lead to even a greater and deeper counseling. You know, either the way you want to do it. Maybe some very good friends around you. You know, maybe, you know, a group of, you know, like-minded people and all that. But whatever it is, counseling is always a good thing for all of us.
Okay, Monsignor, thank you very much. In view of all that we've discussed here, what are your final words for us before we leave our cherished viewers?
Oh, I think my final words, I think that marriage is a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful institution. Indeed, it is the sacrament which is the gift of God, you know. And when we say that God is love, and He is through this special institution inviting us to participate in that love, I don't think God could have given us anything better. But like all things that God gives us, we have to also prepare ourselves to receive it, you know. And that is why in faith, in prayer, you know, I would urge all the young couples, young men and women, you know, not to take it lightly, but know and prepare themselves for that wonder of gift that, you know, God is ready to give to those who prepare themselves to receive it. You know. And if you do, bless your soul, your heart, I'm sure you will not be disappointed, because God never gave us something to disappoint us, but He always gives us something to elevate us. Okay. And blessed are the couple who find this love in Christ.
Okay. Thank you very much, Monsignor. Hello viewers, we have been talking to Monsignor Abua Kwanzaa on marriage and the Catholic Church. If you just joined us, too bad you've missed, but you haven't really missed, because this will be on our YouTube channel, which is Sektari Catholic TV, and on Facebook, Catholic Diocese of Sekendi Takoradi. Monsignor, would like to say thank you very much for talking to us and imparting such knowledge on marriage to us and what the Catholic Church's stance is. Thank you to my crew who are behind the scenes making sure that this went well. And thank you to our cherished viewers for using your data, your time to stay with us throughout this program. Until we meet again, stay blessed.
Sektari Catholic TV, divinely inspired, fully Catholic.